fill in the blank. You're not getting any younger, so
make sure that you take time to move ahead in a way that's fulfilling for you, because then you will have that energy with other people too.
Hey you! Yes, you! Welcome to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast, a podcast for people who want to disrupt their lives for a good reason, to make it count. I'm your host, Jen Glantz, and every week I'll drop a new episode with stories from real people just like you, who woke up one morning and decided to make big changes, starting with small things. We'll cover topics like entrepreneurship, love, failure, and self-care. Hey, you're not getting any younger, so let's make this an adventure. Ready? Hey, any youngers, welcome back to another episode of the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. It's me, your host, Jen Glantz. What's going on? We're in December, a December to remember, and I say that because you've heard me say it before, holiday times, stressful times, whether you're blowing your budget on presents or you're just feeling so overwhelmed with all the last minute things you have to do. I find it so important to talk about self-care during this time of year, and if you know me, you know that I don't like spending money on a lot of things, which is why a lot of the self-care I'm advising you on are things you can do from your couch. They're free. They're things like deep breathing and different things to help you feel calm. And that's a lot of what I want to promote to you, is that when you're feeling so anxious or you're feeling just completely suffocated by stress, you could always find a bathroom. You could always find a closet. And I know that sounds weird, but when you go in the bathroom, in the closet, I want to provide you with the tools you need so that you can calm down, and that when you walk out, you can feel refreshed and you can feel like you're not in a battle zone with yourself anymore. So that's a lot of what this episode is today. Last week, I did an episode on a self-guided meditation that you can do. It's like 5 minutes long. You can do it anywhere you are. Have that on hand. And then today's episode is all about how you can stay calm during the holidays. And that's no matter where you are, what you're doing. This is a great tool for you. We have a guest for this episode. Her name is Antonia Balazs, and she is such an incredible person because she is somebody who completely uprooted and changed her life later in life. And now a lot of what she does is work with women when they are in midlife to help them reground and reconnect with who they are. She is an expert in breathwork, in yoga, and in meditation. And I wanted her to come on the episode today to help us all find ways to just make sure we're feeling great during the holiday season. So we talk about how we can not only regain our purpose toward the end of the year when we're feeling really anxious and weird about starting a new year, let alone a new decade. We also talk about how to have breath work and meditation as a part of our life, even if you're like me over here and that is so not something you're interested in doing, but you know you need to do. We talk about getting you out of heated situations, whether with family or at work, and just little things you can do this holiday season to take care of yourself. I hope you enjoy this episode with Antonia. And as you know, come hang out with us in the secret You're Not Getting Any Younger Facebook group. 1,400 people in there ready and excited to chat with you. We have tons of conversations every week about really personal and important things. Things like how to manage your personal finances or ways to talk about tough topics with people you love. All that kind of stuff is going on inside the group. Come to it. Search on Facebook, You're Not Getting Any Younger. The group will pop up. It's free. There's no strings attached. I'm just inviting you to join a really awesome community. Also, if you're listening to the show and you love the show, can you take 30 seconds right now? Can you? And just scroll to the bottom of the app you're listening to it on. Rate us a couple of 5 stars or so. Write us a quick review. It'll take you less than 30 seconds. It means so much to us because that's how people find this show. And to keep this show going, we need people to find it. All right, I hope you enjoy this week's episode. All my love, Jen Glantz. Antonia, how would you describe who you are and what you do to somebody you just met at a party?
the most amazing thing happened when I was turning 50. I was doing my yoga teacher training. And what occurred to me is that yoga gives you these amazing tools for change. And I was going through midlife, and it really helped me approach this as an exciting new chapter. And I think that often when women are entering midlife, it is a very difficult time, and they sort of feel unanchored and don't really quite know how to get their arms around, what's happening and this new stage. And I really want to help women in midlife tap into these incredible tools that you can get from yoga on and off the mat to help them dig into what's next and step forward with clarity and confidence.
I love that you mentioned when you were doing your yoga training, you learned that there were so many tools for change within yoga. And I started practicing this summer, and it completely transformed so many parts of me and my mindset. Can you talk a little bit more about how yoga gives people those tools?
I think that the way in is through the physical, through the asana and the poses. So people come to yoga thinking, oh, it'll make me feel better physically. And then they find this mind-body connection because we don't really tune into our body really well. So there's kind of like this progression, I think, where you feel good moving, then you feel your mind connecting to your body. And then you find that you just are transforming on a more internal level. And it sort of sneaks up on you. And then you feel like, ooh, I need to get more of this. And you dig in more into meditation and these other tools.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful practice to integrate into your life, especially perhaps around the holiday times. One of the reasons I was so excited to have you on the show is because this is a time of year where I think people can really benefit from a lot of your wisdom and a lot of your knowledge. So, I want to talk about the art of staying calm in the holiday season for so many people going home and being around their family or just traveling, or if they're the ones hosting things for Thanksgiving, people's stress levels explode. And you do a lot of information and tips on breath work and meditation and all of those kinds of things. So I want to hear from you maybe what one or two wonderful tips are for people who are experiencing an increase of stress during this time of year.
I think that there are sort of three tools to think about. And one is right now, so I'm so glad you're doing this like a couple of weeks in advance of Thanksgiving, is to plan in advance, to take a little time and figure out where you want to be flexible, where you might want to stand your ground a bit more in some things, because, part of the stress comes with expectations. And even if you still go ahead and do these things, I think if you've sort of tapped into it and feel like, yeah, I'm still going to do that, then you feel more gracious about it. And moving along with the timeline here, I think, meditation is a great thing to do when you're sort of in the midst of it and you just can walk away for 5 minutes if it's a little chaotic or whatever's going on, and you can just check in and reground. And then there's even amazing breath work that you can do in the moment, right in the middle of everybody, because nobody's really going to notice. And that is great because it can help you out of that reaction phase and just get back into calming down and coming back and responding from a place of intention.
Okay, so I live in that reaction phase. Like, that is where I
Me
completely,
too.
yeah, I spend my life there actually. So, okay, here I am sitting at a table. There's chaos around me with family or friends, and I want to react. I want to show anger. What can I do with my breathing? Because I know when I get angry, I pretty much stop breathing. So, when we talk about breath work, what can we actually do in the moment to calm down, process, and not give in to the stress that's sitting right in front of us?
Mostly we tend to breathe extremely shallowly from our chest. And I'm sure you've noticed your breathing changing when you're doing yoga and taking deeper, more intentional breaths, feeling how it's moving down and up in your body, thinking about breathing in calmness and releasing the stress on the exhale, and just zoning internally like that and focusing in on your breathing. It actually, interestingly enough, lights up a different area of your brain, one that's a more evolved area than our knee jerk area. It's very, very interesting.
So you're saying when we take those deep breaths, something in our brain is changing, forcing us to calm down, or is it just the mental shift? Like, what exactly is happening in our brain that's going to make me not start screaming at everyone and instead be able to lower my heart rate?
Well, what, and I'm no expert on this, so it's kind of very general, but what they've done some experiments on the difference between when you're just unconsciously breathing, which obviously keeps us alive. Um, Parts of the more primeval brain does that, because that's a lot of where I think that's a lot of where our unconscious things come from. But when you actually do conscious breathing, when you focus in on your breath in whatever way that might be, and really deepen your breath, scientists noted, well, that's interesting. What's lighting up in the area of your brain that is more active has now moved to the more evolved part of your brain, which, generally speaking, is the part you have more control over.
Wow, that is completely fascinating. And another thing I want to ask you is about the meditation part. So here I am during the holidays. I feel myself needing a break. Let's say I sneak into the bathroom. What exactly can I do to guide myself on a meditation if I don't have anything to listen to, or if honestly, frankly, I'm not a big meditator to start with? So, what exactly can a person do in that moment by themselves to create their own personal meditation if they don't have anything to guide them or they've never really done it before?
Yeah, that is a little tricky. I think it's hard to meditate when you're not practiced and you don't have a guided meditation. But following your breath again is really helpful. You can put your hands on your body, which is kind of nice because you can feel the breath moving in and out of your body, which is that physical aspect to it too. I think this helps you keep in a more meditative state. And obviously, we get thoughts. The main thing is not to get hung up on them, which we all know, but can be a little difficult. Which is why I would suggest that the simplest thing is, again, just to follow your breath and zone in on on that if you don't have a guided meditation with you.
Another thing I really want to ask you about is a big part of your work is working with women, especially women in the middle of their life, to help them reground and reconnect with who they are. And I think this can really apply to just anybody who feels like they've lost their purpose. We're heading into a new year, a new decade. What can people do when they feel like they've lost their place in life or they are not so happy with who they've become to sort of kick things off right in a new year?
So here's the thing, and I love that you say it's applicable to everybody, because I'm like, everybody should do this. Um, and I think that one of the most difficult things in our society that we try and avoid is quiet and sitting with ourselves. It's uncomfortable. None of us really like doing it, or at least it takes a while to feel more comfortable. But I think that when you have quiet and when you take the time to really to sit with yourself, let those voices come up. It can be journaling, it can be in a more just quiet meditative setting. You need to understand these voices. Some of them are sort of being placed on you by expectations in society. Others are a deep wellspring of hopes and fears. I think you've got to become familiar with them in order to do, the deep work of figuring out how you want to move ahead.
I love this advice because it's also one of my fears is being alone with those voices. I think it's
It's
why
hard.
I know it's so hard. I think it's why I overschedule myself and stay so busy because I'm so scared of those voices because they yell at me and they yell at me the truth. So, what can we do when those voices are telling us what we know we need to do, but we just have fear holding us back?
I think you have to dig into that fear, understand where it's coming from, and see if you can tease out, why that fear is there. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to act on it, right then and there and immediately take the plunge. But I think becoming, familiar and understanding our fear then helps us on the path of moving ahead from that fear in whatever form that might take.
I definitely want our listeners to learn a little bit about you and how you became so wise with all of this. Was there a moment in your life where you realized that you were not living your purpose? And if so, how did you realize that and how did you lean into it?
It's connected, I think, to this change I did in midlife. I I had a good life. I'm very fortunate in a lot of ways, but I'd been doing, kind of the same thing for like 15 years, and it felt very repetitive. And I was spending a lot of time looking after my mother, um, and I was I was felt kind of conflicted because on the one hand, I was cutting back on the work I was doing, and I was taking time to spend time with my mother. She was aging and being a primary caretaker for her. And on the one hand, I was very grateful to be able to do that, and it was absolutely wonderful. On the other hand, I didn't feel like I I had some really good purpose in life, which I know sounds a little silly when I'm able to spend this time with my mom, but I that's when I kind of had to dig into that, sort of like you're saying, like, gosh, so many people would feel really fortunate to be able to do this, and here I have some resentment, and what's that about? And I kind of realized that I was kind of taking care of everybody else, and I to an extent I really love doing that. I'm kind of a nurturing person that way, but I felt like I had to do something to take care of myself, and I had to do something that was about me. And I kind of started looking for that, and it led me down this path. It's amazing.
Do you think everyone in this world has a purpose?
I think we probably do, and we certainly need to feel like we do.
I agree with that. I really do. And I feel like there are so many people who either feel like they don't have a purpose or they're scared because they can't get it out of them. So what's one final piece of advice for that you have in general for these listeners who are feeling low on themselves as they exit a new year and enter another so that they too can have that realization and just really move forward with who they're supposed to be?
If you can't spend time taking care of yourself, You can't take care of others, and you're also sending that message to other people, like, your kids, people in your life, that you can be put lost. And that's not good for you. It's not good for anyone around you. So, no one's saying be selfish, but make sure that you are recharging your battery as well.
I love that, Antonia. I want to end this interview like we end them all. So I'm going to ask you one final question. Fill in the blank. You're not getting any younger, so
Make sure that you take time to move ahead in a way that's fulfilling for you, because then you will have that energy with other people too.
wow. I love that because it's so simple, but something that's so powerful that I think when people listen to over and over and over again, everyone can relate to the fact that they need to do more of that. So thank you for sharing that with our listeners. And I just want you to tell everybody listening to the show where they can find out more about you and what you're up to.
I am on Facebook, a New Landscape Yoga. I have a website, New Landscape Yoga. I'm also on Instagram, and I put together a very luscious, wee little holiday stress relief package that has a nice little journaling prompts to help you figure out in advance what you want, how you want to navigate your holidays. It has a calming meditation, and it has a guided belly breath too. So you can find me there and get that nice, luscious little package to help you get through the holidays.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for doing the show today.
Thank you.
Woo, this was so much fun. Hey, you. Thank you for listening to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. There are hundreds of thousands of pods out there, so thank you for listening to this one. You can find the show notes for this week's episode up on our website, anyyounger.com. Subscribe, rate, and review the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast on iTunes so that other ears around the world can listen too. Oh, and join our secret You're Not Getting Any Younger Facebook group, where over 1,000 people are talking about how to disrupt their lives, for a good reason, to make it count. Until next week, all my love, Jen Glantz.